As you guys probably have noticed, you get a new round of Why I'm Not Orthodox videos from the Pop Apologist anytime there's a significant debate loss, scandal, or challenge to their position. If you remember some years back when we heard Francis doing all of his Skittles stuff, we had to have Matt Fradd and Holdsworth and everybody kind of go out and do the commiserating cope sessions that they do. Recently, we've had a bad few months of Roman Catholicism in terms of public debates because we had the Trent Doherty breakdowns and crash outs on multiple debates where he screamed, yelled, cussed, threatened to fight, and all because he wanted to defend not just gay Catholics, literally, but also to defend the idea that Muslims, Christians, and Jews all worship, quote-unquote, the same God, to defend the Vatican II text. Now we've had the more recent 3-part, 4-5-hour debate between me and Tim Gordon, which 75% of the audience agreed Tim Gordon lost. Tim Gordon himself conceded a couple things at the end of the debate. But now Tim's back on YouTube and on Twitter asking ChatGPT to prove, I'm not kidding, that he actually won the debate somehow. What? Yeah, exactly. To me, that actually signifies their grasping at straws because they know they're not doing well. But no, in their mind, this is actually proof that I lost the debate. Turns out, even though Tim conceded the Filioque section and after the debate privately conceded to me that I was actually correct about universal magisterium and he was misunderstanding it, no, actually, that's all wrong. Turns out I lost all of the debate and the papists won. So we're not going to do a debate review because I don't need to do a debate review. We may do one for fun with David Erhan, but somehow people think that debate reviews, you do them when you lose. So debate reviews are just fun to do. It's an easy way to have more content. It doesn't necessarily mean you won't lost or won to do a review of the debate because you can always discuss questions and topics that didn't get covered. Every debate I've ever done has multiple things that are brought up that due to time limitations actually don't get addressed. So it's just normal to try to address some of the things that didn't, there wasn't time to get to. But excuse me, my allergies are going crazy today. I want to note that Roman Catholics appear to not be aware that what the exercise of the keys is. They'll just say keys, 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 keys. And you ask them, okay, what are the keys and what does it signify? Well, it turns out in Roman Catholic theology, they've actually already answered this question. If you look at any theological manual for Roman Catholics, they'll explain what the keys, the office of the keys is. It's to preach the gospel, to remit and retain sins, to exercise jurisdiction, and to, there's one I'm forgetting. Offer the sacraments. That's the exercise of the keys. That's it. There's nothing beyond that in Roman Catholic theology itself. And when we go to Matthew 18, 2 chapters after the statement to Peter, Jesus says to the college of the apostles, I say to you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Surely I say to you, if you agree, two of you agree, then my Father is there in agreement with you. Does this sound like autocracy? Why does he include two or more of you agree? That sounds like communal synodal ecclesiology. So you notice they take Matthew 16 out of the holistic context of the rest of the things that are said to the college of the apostles. And do you understand that Matthew 18:18 is the exercising of the keys? And they say, no, it's only Peter in Matthew 16. But even in their own Catholic theology, the apostles have all of the same functions of the keys, the way they define the keys. So then what is it that's supposedly unique? Well, but see, Jesus gave it directly to Peter first. Yes, and that's because Peter is awarded this honor because he first confesses when the apostles are asked. Okay? So notice that I will give you the keys to the kingdom. Whatever you bind, whatever you loose, is said not just to Peter, 2 chapters later, to all of them. And it's synodal 2 chapters later. So what we should gather from this is that I don't take Matthew 16 in a vacuum, excluding all of the other passages in the text in the rest of the New Testament, the rest of Matthew 2 chapters later. But notice that's exactly what a Roman Catholic has to do, is to take these passages in a vacuum, ignore where it's said the same thing to the rest of the college, and then you ask them, what is it exactly that's here that Peter has that the others don't have? Oh, well, actually, it turns out it's infallibility. Where is that? Oh, well, that's your faith, never failing faith. Okay, but Peter's faith did fail 3 times. And that's why Jesus said, feed my sheep 3 times. Where in any of that is indefectibility and infallibility? Where in Acts 15 in the Jerusalem Council is any idea of infallibility and indefectibility? Now, one thing that's interesting that I've noticed from a lot of the Roman Catholics of late is there's a new angle they're trying. And this is particularly, I guess, successful with pop apologists, because pop apologists are appealing to low information Catholic people, low information voters, people that are choosing probably not for the best reasons, very low tier converts, if I people, a lot of people choosing based on low information. And that's what we would expect for pop apologists to do, because they want the broadest appeal. We do very high tier stuff over here. I don't do the pop stuff. And that's why they've chosen since 2018 to pretty much avoid what I do. And their excuse is he's mean. Now, if we go back to 2018, when all this really started popping off, okay, Lofton made a huge deal about how mean I was. To what? Because of the original live stream with Ibarra. I'd asked Ibarra many times over many years to do a debate. And Eric said he would not do it, even though we had lengthy exchanges on Facebook for hundreds and hundreds of comments for many years. And I'm like, well, why won't you just do a debate? And he said, well, it's got to be on a Catholic channel and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. So there was no neutral ground. And then the reason that original debate happened, and they never tell you the full story, is they were doing a live stream saying that I would never debate. I was too scared to debate Ibarra, which was not the case. I simply asked that we do it on a specific topic on this or that channel, and he didn't like the channels I suggested. And I said, I'll hop on right now and have this argument. And when I got on there, I said, I want to talk about Vatican I, Vatican II contradictions. That's the strongest arguments against the papacy. It shows that obvious, easy contradictions right there. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about the historical evidences. Because this is their shtick, is to go through the quote mines, pile up a bunch of quote mines, and craft a narrative out of a growing seed doctrine that turns into a tree that by the 8th, 9th, and 10th centuries is supposed to prove something maybe like Vatican I. Well, I don't grant that the quote mine stacking them up proves anything, because as Eric admitted, if I recall in that debate, if you could show one dogmatic contradiction, then it would invalidate the system. Exactly. That's all that's ever been needed, was one dogmatic contradiction. And guess what? There's many. There's not just one. And so what happened after that point was this sort of war that erupted between what was originally a Uniate channel that had Orthodox and Eastern Catholics on, to Lofton booting Craig Trulia, and then there was a huge bunch of arguments and drama. And then it turned into Lofton just kind of went crazy and was trying to get Father Deacon defrocked and was calling people's churches, just crazy stuff. He sent me a lawsuit, like he was going to sue me for making fun of him. I'm not joking. He said, I've got the email still where he said he's going to sue me for making fun of him on the internet. And it just turned into a bunch of ridiculousness. And since that time, other pop apologists have emerged whose channels have grown significantly, like Matt Fradd's. And although Matt has hosted Ubi, he's made it very clear, because I impersonated him. I don't know what exactly it is. I made fun of his accent. I do impersonations of everyone. Oh, suddenly that's too mean, and then we don't interact with him. He's too mean. Which is all just super gay, dude. It's so freaking gay. I don't care, by the way, about interacting with him or not. But what they didn't learn in 2018 was that it doesn't work to say he's mean. That's not going to keep people Roman Catholic. And we had waves of converts since then. Tens of thousands of people have become Orthodox since then. And now they're doing the same thing with the latest crop of pop apologists like Brian Holdsworth or like Joel, what's his face, or whoever. Now, I'm not saying they've specifically named me, these people. I'm saying the tendency is to still say, we're not going to interact with him because he's mean. And look how aggressive he was in the Tim Gordon debate. Now, in the Tim Gordon debate, people, again, Roman Catholics apparently don't know this. In cross-examination, you can interrupt your opponent. We agreed to that, Tim and I both, with Elijah before the debate. So their excuse of me interrupting is completely preposterous. Furthermore, Tim interrupted me just as much or more than I interrupted him during the cross-examinations. And that was because he was getting really nervous. And everybody could see that. And he floundered multiple times in every section of the debate. So why was I being aggressive? Because I debate in an aggressive way and aggressive style, I always have. That's just the style of debate that I do. To cope that I'm mean is just preposterous. Especially when they follow people online as their leaders who are 10 times more mean than me and do all kinds of nasty activities in the background. And people like Lofton, who did just absolutely nasty stuff in the background, trying to get people fired from their jobs. I mean, they're nasty, and they play like they're friendly up front, but it's all a front, right? So that's why you can't. You gotta have a little bit of a thick skin to do this kind of stuff, and you can't listen to a lot of their whining and bitching too much. Now, the biggest elephant in the room is the actual arguments that have been made. Yes, I was doing blood sports when it started. First debate we did was Adam Kokesh, and that's still up. That was about 10 years ago. The next debate that I did was Worski Blood Sports against JF, and you can still watch that debate on my live stream channel. So yeah, I mean, and it's not just because of blood sports. I come out of a philosophical background in undergrad and grad school where we did debate. That was part of doing debate. I mean, part of philosophy, excuse me. We were doing public debates with professors in my sophomore year of undergrad. So that's just what I'm used to. That's the milieu that I come out of. I mean, to me, that's how guys ought to act, right? I mean, Tim and I went out after, I went out with his family. I took him out to eat afterwards. I bought him dinner because I'm a nice dude like that. So now when it comes to the issues, I will fiercely debate. But on a personal level, Tim and I get along great. We were talking about going and playing basketball. We spent like 3 hours at the restaurant just chatting it up. I still think he's completely wrong. He's making huge mistakes on his Twitter. I mean, it looks silly to me. But I still like Tim on a personal level. He's a good dude. Now, let's get to the issues, because the only reason I bring that up is, like, do you understand Tim's not acting like a massive Skittles bag like most of you people are? How come Tim can handle all this? He's not upset crying and whining about how mean I am, because he's a normal, high testosterone dude. That's how dudes are. Dudes can handle this. A lot of you guys are wussies, dude. You guys are freaking weak. You can't handle it. And that's why the whole point I'm telling you this is that's not going to keep people Roman Catholic. None of that is going to work. Lofton tried it in 2018 to talk about endlessly how mean I was, how much of a bad person. None of that works. Because at the end of the day, people that really care are going to make the decisions based on who has the better arguments and which position's true. You can do all this drama all day long, but do you understand that even if you did a bunch of drama and you kept a bunch of people in your camp based on drama, Do you understand that that's actually a net negative for you in the long run? Because the people that you're keeping are low information converts, low tier people that are going to convert the first time they encounter some significant challenge to the position. So you would be better off actually addressing the arguments than acting like the way to solve these disputes is to talk about how bad somebody is, how mean they are, the fat jokes they make about Ibarra. I'm sorry, it's too easy to make fat jokes about Ibarra. And they're funny too. Everybody knows they're funny. Everybody admits they're funny. It's not my fault that Ibarra ended up being a gigantic vagina about all this. And Tim hasn't been a giant vagina. Tim's been super cool about it, even though we totally disagree. Notice the difference of the attitude and the actions of Tim versus giant vaginas like Ibarra. Totally night and day.